Welcome. We are going over how to filter in the mobile app, specifically filtering the leads and filtering DataGrid pins. So let's get to it. We're in the mobile app. Go ahead and click Sales Hub. Find your area that you've been working or that you're going to work. And where we're going to start is top left corner. You have the little cone. That's our filter button. This is how we actually do the filtering. So there are three different things that we can filter. We can filter leads, shared leads, and data grid. You may not see areas or user locations. Don't worry too much about that. That's a manager permission. We're going to select the leads drop-down button. So leads means our own leads versus shared leads mean other people's leads. And again, you may not see shared leads either. It depends on your permission setting. But our own personal leads, we have different options. One is we can filter date by, is we can go last updated, appointment date, date created, depends on what you're looking for. I like to typically keep it in date created. We also have date ranges. So we can quick date things. We can say all time, which means forever, this year, this month, this week, yesterday, today, or if we need to be more specific and we want to say last Saturday to Thursday, I can do specific date ranges. So what that's going to show me is that all leads, let's say I selected this week, is it's going to show me only leads that were created this week. If there's leads that were created last week, it's not going to show any of that. So keep this in mind with when you set your filters, they stay the same. And so if you set filters for today and tomorrow comes around and you're setting today, you're not going to see any of the work that you did yesterday. So just be aware. So I like to typically stay in all time. It's typically easiest so I can see all my leads. You also can filter by specific lead status. So if I want to show, I want to see, I'm going to deselect all of them. I only want to see go backs in my area. And then I press done at the top right. Now it's only showing me my go backs. You'll notice in the background when I select all, more leads just popped up. So why is this powerful? Why is it good to be able to filter your leads? For specific reasons. One is it just helps to remove sometimes some of the clutter. When you have a lot of pins, you have data grid pins as well, is it sometimes just is a lot to look at, and it's nice to just filter things. Second, if I'm looking for a specific lead, is it'll help me if maybe I can't remember what the name is or where it's located, but I know that it's in this area and I know that as go back, I can filter by specific things to help me find leads. The most important reason is what we call targeted prospecting. Is oftentimes, especially if you're newer, but even the veterans do this, is when you come into an area, you have so many different people that you can talk to, and you're going to end up talking to a lot of people. One of the things that happens is you knock on, it's let's say 50, 60% of the doors you end up knocking on are not home. And statistics show that the majority of reps do not re-knock the home and do not re-knock the home more than once. And so what that means is you're knocking on all these doors, you're spending all this time and effort, and then you don't ever go back to them. And a lot of times the ones that you're not going back to are the people that would be saying yes. So one of the strategies is what I would do is I'd say, all right, I want to go back and view all of my not homes, all the people that I've already knocked on. I want to go search. It's just these right here, at least in this area. And I'm going to go re-knock on all these doors. I'm going to go update these. That person was not home again. This person was not interested. But what I'm doing is I'm whittling down my area and I'm actually finding the people that are going to say yes and giving myself a higher chance of success in this area. So that's why filters are so powerful and so important. And there's different strategies. It's maybe going back and hitting your not homes, or maybe all the people that said, yeah, I would be interested, but I need my spouse to be home or come back at X time. So maybe I want to search by all my go backs. But whatever it may be, there are ways that you can get strategic to make sure that you're effectively working an area and finding the yeses. Shared leads is going to work the same exact way in terms of filtering, but instead of filtering your own leads, you're filtering somebody else's lead. And so the only other layer or the only other component would just be selecting whose leads are you actually viewing. If they're not checked, you're not going to be able to see them. If they are checked, you should be able to see them. Be careful with this is that on your phone, especially if you don't have super great service. The more data you try and load in, the longer it's going to take. So the app could slow down if you have hundreds and thousands of leads that are trying to pull in at once. In fact, it may get bad enough to where you're just going to have data that's missing. So just be conscious of how much data you're trying to pull at once. Okay, so that's shared leads. And what you'll notice is how you know the difference between is it my lead or a shared lead is when you select a lead and right down here it'll say owned by the name. If it's owned by somebody else, one will obviously say a different name, but then two, there will be a ring around the lead signifying that's somebody else's lead. Okay, the last one is going to be filtering data grid. So I'm going to come over here to this empty area. One of the most intimidating parts about coming into a new area, especially when you're newer to field sales, is who do I talk to? Where do I go? Who's actually going to say yes? Who's actually going to buy? What I can do is I can use DataGrid to help me filter and whittle down who are the really great people and who are going to be harder conversations. So, what I like to do, we're going to come to our filters. I like to use what's called the cherry picking method. It's worked wonders for me and my teams. Is I like to start with my 9.0s and higher. And depending on how good the area is, maybe it's 9.5 higher, maybe it's 8.5 and higher. It just really depends on how many. But I like to start with the cream of the crop, the best people. Why do I do this? This is because the higher the number is, the more likely they are to buy and how much easier the conversation typically is. So we click on this 9.6. 9.6 is really high. This is somebody that is in a really awesome buying scenario. So this is based off of our solar model, very close to roofing. Roofing will change just a little bit, but each data grid model is built for the industry. Why is this person in a great buying scenario? Well, one, their home is perfect for solar, meaning the credit score is high, it's going to pass. They've been living in the home for just a handful of years, so they've gotten plenty of power bills. The home's a little bit old enough to where this actually also could be great for roofing, and they probably haven't had a new roof yet. The square footage, I know that this job's going to be big enough or it's going to hold enough solar panels, or for roofing, it's going to have enough material to really be actually worth the job. Also, based off of income and certain things like that, I know this person's in an awesome buying scenario. The only thing I need to do is be able to sell them. But based off the scenario, they're not going to be disqualified. They're not going to say no because they're in a poor buying situation. So that's why I hit up the higher ones because these are going to be easier conversations. I get yeses a little bit quicker. So what I do is I come and I say, I find the person that's going to say yes, whatever that may be. So I'm going to scroll over, say yes to an inspection or yes to an appointment, whatever it is. And then I go hit up the rest of my easier conversations. And then I go and I open up the floodgates. So I've had this conversation. Now, this 5.9. Just because it's a 5.9 does not mean that they will say no. In fact, a lot of these are really awesome customers. They're just oftentimes a little bit difficult or more difficult because their buying scenario is not as great. You'll notice credit scores a little bit lower. So maybe this person might have a harder time qualifying. And so the sales a little bit harder. Not mean does not mean that they're going to say no. I just have to convince them. But what since I've gone to all my easy ones and I've gotten my yeses, I've gotten my appointments, one, I have a lot more confidence. But two is I can now bandwagon. So I say, okay, I already scheduled an inspection or I already set up an appointment with Megan. They're right next door to each other, they're right across the street. I can come to Sharon and I can say, hey, Sharon or Shireen, I just booked an appointment with Megan. I just sold to Megan, whatever it may be. They probably go to church on Sundays together, or their husbands play golf, whatever it is. There's because they're in such close proximity, my likelihood of getting yeses are going to go up with some of these harder sales. And now I end up selling and closing more business because I've done the easy ones first, and then I've come to maybe some of the harder ones and work the area. Please do not say, oh, it's 5.9. I'm not going to touch that. That's bad practice. These people will 100% say yes. You're just making your life easier so you can close more business. As a last reminder, your filters stay the same. They do not reset automatically when you close out of the app. So be conscious of that. So maybe you go into a specific area and you're trying to filter so you can do some bandwagoning, you can do a little bit of that cherry picking, or you're just looking for specific people. These will stay the same. Make sure you come in here and press reset all. Same for your leads. Make sure that you have all your lead status selected to the date range you normally like it, or else things may be gone or disappear. Thanks so much for joining us for filtering your leads in DataGrid.